Whatever body of water you plan on fishing this weekend, we are here to help you out. Freshwater or saltwater, artificial or bait, our guides have the techniques to get you the fish that you need. This is the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
You're watching the Texas Insider Fishing Report, and we're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy. This weekend, we've got more great fishing reports from around the state to share with y'all as we head into the last days of April. Crazy how time flies when you're catching fish, huh, Rick?
Man, it is crazy. And what a crazy year we've had so far with the weather. One day cold, one day windy, one day calm, one day hot.
Yeah, it's definitely been bipolar weather for sure. And filling in for Dave at the CCA workbench is Sarah Malia, and she'll be discussing some fish catching techniques as well as showing us what new products are out there. We're excited to have you, Sarah.
So excited to be here filling in for Dave. We're going to be popping it off over here at the workbench, talking about topwater lures during the rigs, and I've also got some really cool new products, so don't go away.
Perfect. Well, we're excited to talk to you about that. All right, let's jump right into it. The Yeti Lure Fresh region is up next with guide Matt Reed and his report on Fayette County, Somerville, Lake Travis, Bastrop, LBJ, and Amistad. We've got a lot to cover, Matt, so we better get started.
Yeah, we better. I'm going to see if I can have a lower freshwater region record and hit me about 7 lakes here. Let's start off with the largemouth bass. Fayette County Lake has been fishing really good this week. The fish are everywhere from the edge of the reeds all the way out to the main lake points. The shallow fish are eating motor oil and chartreuse soft plastics, rig them Texas style and throw them up to the edge of the reeds or the hydrilla there, and there's a lot of action in that shallow water. That's better in the morning. After the sun gets up, the main lake points out in 10 to 15 foot of water. Fish have been biting really well on watermelon and green pumpkin soft plastics on a Carolina rig. 2 other areas of Fayette you need to check are the dam and the intake there by the power plant. All the rocks in that area are really good. Skipping over to Lake Somerville. Fishing's been good. They've moved out. They're all through with the spawn. They're out in 12 to 14 foot of water on the main lake points and also around the Welch Park area. Catching those fish on the Carolina rig soft plastics mainly. Green pumpkin, watermelon candy are great colors. There's some fish around the dam and the man-made brush piles. Best way to catch those fish is on a Texas rig plastic. Red bug has been a good color. Catching some really big ones at Somerville. Been a lot of 10-plus pound fish caught there this spring and into the early summer. Moving down to the Austin area, Lake Travis is fishing really good. The topwater action is on fire. You can catch them on poppers, walking baits, and also wake baits that you reel right under the surface. Catching anywhere from 50 to 100 bass a day. The other way to catch them is some small soft plastics around the trees, and those trees are out close to the edge of those breaks close to the deep water. Buchanan, another lake in the Austin area, is fishing really well with using flukes and crankbaits around the brush out to about 10 foot of water. If you want some exciting topwater action, get you a frog and throw it up real shallow. But the best places are where deep water is near. So you need to check those areas that have a sharp drop and fish a frog real close to the bank. Next lake I'm going to touch on is Bastrop. Topwaters are doing really well there also around the grass. The fish are starting to school there also. Post-spawn fish get really hungry and want to feed up. So you can have a ton of fun throwing a topwater at those fish. Throw a swim bait at them also, and you won't catch quite as many, but those fish will be bigger. Another lake in that Austin area is Lake LBJ. Fish are relating to the docks right now really well. You can catch those fish skipping a jig up under the docks, and that works really better after the sun comes up. Early in the morning, throw a fluke on the grass flats. Catch them that way. You can also catch them on a swim jig and a Cinco. If you want to have some fun, some of that thicker grass, there's still a frog bite to be had around that vegetation. Further south and to the west, Lake Amistad. Bass are pretty much through spawning down there. and the lake is so clear. It's an awesome topwater lake when that happens. So fish around the grass, the hydrilla with a walking type topwater, swim bait or a Texas rig, and the numbers have been really good, and you can throw an occasional big one in there. That picture is from one of my buddies that helps with the report, Greg Boyk at Anglers Angle Guide Service. That's the Fayette County bass there that his customer caught. Also want to throw a big shout out to Brian Cotter that helps me. It's from Texas Hogs Guide Service. He sends a bunch of this stuff in from the Austin area. I appreciate it, guys.
Tell us about the catfish here, Matt.
Okay. Down out west at Lake Amistad, the catfish are beginning to move shallow to spawn. They move back in the shallow creeks and the flats and really congregate back there, and it's a whole lot of fun. You're catching limits of catfish, channel cat mainly, on dough bait and cut shad. On the cut shad, you'll catch the occasional bigger blue cat, which, man, they get really big sometimes, so that can be a lot of fun and puts you some good table fare in the freezer. One of the key things to catch more is to bait the area that you're going to fish with sour grain. That helps congregate those catfish and bring them into the area and help you fill your cooler up.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You got crappies for us?
Well, the crappie at Lake Falcon are really starting to get good now. You can take them and they're grouped up in the brush piles in 15 to 20 foot. You can catch them on a jig. No live bait in town, so if you want live bait, bring you some minnows. Otherwise, take you an 8-ounce crappie jig and catch you a bunch.
All right, man. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower fresh hotspots. He says Lake Somerville bass are on the main lake points in 12 to 14 feet of water, biting Carolina rigs and Texas rigs on soft plastics, Brie.
All right, Rick, our lower coast region captain, Chad Kinney, has your weekend offshore and inshore report ready to go. So let's see what you'll be hooking up to this weekend. Go for it, Chad.
I tell you what, we got some great stuff. Got great reports here. As Rick hit on the weather, we've had north winds, south winds and stuff. But the positive thing is we got some great forecasts coming. I think it's finally going to break. But moving in to the bay system here, trout, redfish, and some flounder reports been good out of South Padre Island, and the red snapper still remains great in state waters here. So out of South Padre Island, had a redfish, trout, and flounder being caught, all by one guy, Captain Skipper Mock. I've known him for years down there. He's a good guy out of South Padre. If you haven't fished with him, try it. If not, he's been there for a long time. He had trout, red, had the whole Texas slam there, flounder. And he's fishing around 3 islands there, hitting soft plastics for the trout. Try a sand eel or saltwater assassin's paddle tail with an 1/8-ounce jig works well for that stuff on the trout there. Work the grass pockets about 3 to 4 foot of water. And when you're moving into those redfish there, he did real good on redfish also. Moved those probably up earlier in the morning. Try shallower, about 1 to 2 foot. And also I like paddle tails, of course, and gold spinach, one of my favorites there with a quicker retrieve. You'll have some better results if you get out and probably actually wade through there, because those fish can kind of be a little bit spooky unless you're going to, power pull down and catch a few if you run into a pod, but they're not going to be schooled up this time of year. They're going to be kind of scattered throughout there. So if you work those, they're going to work really well. If you get some calmer winds in the morning, which between the fronts right now, but here in the next week or two, try some topwater action also. You see some beads pushing around and help it happen real well. And then also he, like I said, part of the slammer, he also did catch some flounder. And catching the flounder there on the drop-offs on the sand where the grass meets, ICW, raining the guts that went up through there. When you do this, move with a heavier jig. I like moving up to a 1/4 ounce to 3/4 ounce, depending on the current. You want that current kind of start to push out and start barely moving. You don't want it too heavy. And try a scented bait, paddle tails or little shrimp tails or anything else like that. And, bump them off the bottom. You got to move real slow for those flounder. You feel a little thump, you better stop a little, give it a hesitation and bend to them and stick them. So that's a good report there, starting to show up with those. You got a picture of Captain Skipper Mock and Corey Mock there with some redfish and flounder there.
Yeah, looking good. All right. Tell us about the trout fishing, bub, a little bit further to Port Mansfield.
Yeah, move around here in Mansfield, and Captain Charlie Buchan gave me a good report. We've been there's been guys hitting some really, really big trophy trout. If you're looking for some trophies, they're not in abundance, but talk to Buchan, and he had a big sow trout there, south around Green Islands, topwater early in the a.m., moved soft plastics later in the day as, it goes on. wade fishing, I believe, and that still works a heck of a lot more better. It's productive. Hit that knee-deep water on the sand and grass pockets. And when it starts warming up like this, when the water, it's getting warmer now, so I was actually wet wading here real quick. But when it starts warming up and the water temps go, they went up 3 degrees. But if you get an overcast day and the sun pops up in the afternoon or mid-morning, move to some muddier bottoms. That mud will warm up, and that's where it comes those bigger fish will lay. But when you're looking for those big trout, like I said, you're not going to have a whole bunch of knockdowns or hits or anything you got, not big numbers. But if you're looking for a big trophy, they're out there, and you just got to be patient for it, put the time in, and you can get rewarded if that's what you're looking for. I got a picture of a beautiful trout right there that they released with Captain Buchan.
Boy, that's a stud there,
That's
Chief.
nice.
All right,
Yeah,
let's go offshore, whatever you got.
Yeah, tell you what, it's been tough with the weather, but long-range forecast looks really, really good. Snapper fishing still continues to be good down here in state waters on the lower coast. You get 4 per person per day, 365 days a year. Texas just did announce June 1st going to be open federal waters and state waters. Federal waters will be open every 2 days, so that'll really help the recreational fishermen to get a really good chance of some deeper snapper there. But snapper right now for the state water, still look at the structure holding snapper, in shallow 40 to 90 foot of water. So current subsiding, so go ahead, start looking for those suspended fish in there. And then the water temps are increasing. I just got back in. They went up 3 degrees from 2 days ago. So look here shortly for the ling. Some kingfish, of course, I've been telling you guys, but the jacks will be showing up and bonita and bait balls and everything else. So the guys out of South Padre, they made a big reef out there. CCA helped a bunch, and Texas Parks and Wildlife, they did a 1,600-acre reef that's basically between Mansfield and South Padre. So I've talked to skippers down there. That's already producing keeper red snapper. So that's a big plus.
All right, what else
Moving
you got?
over.
Yeah, tell us about the wahoos.
Yeah, moving over blue water, so wahoo and tuna and everything else that we love to pursue out there deep. Long range forecast, like I said, is looking a lot better for blue water reports. So I've got some buddies out fishing. I'm going to be coming out a bunch this week, so I'll get some great reports next week for that. That's what you guys are looking for. So the wahoo bite, I know is going to be on out there, and the yellowfin tuna, and I got some stuff on the floater rigs will be out there. I'll be looking for weed lines and stuff, so a whole way out, so I'll get you a good report of what depth they're going to be in and everything else. But the best thing is, when you do have some downtime like this, if you own your own boat, of course, get your boat prepped and anything else like that, and all your tackle. If you got tackle and you can go with your buddies or with a guide, I just got finished doing it this past week. I re-spooled all my 30s, 50s, 80s, and 130s with high-vis Suffolks, and just get ready because it's going to pop loose here real quick.
All right, Bub, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower coast hotspots. He says inshore trout, redfish, and flounder are good out of South Padre Island. And then offshore, red snapper remains good in the state waters.
Okay, Rick, let's take a peek at what the Upper Coast region has to offer y'all this weekend. But first, we're headed to the CCA workbench for some rigs and techniques with Sarah, who's got your top water tips in tip-top shape. So stay hooked, and we'll be right back.
Whoa, here we go.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. The American Fishing Tackle Company. Any fish, any water. Since 1958. Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist. And CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
CCA is the largest marine conservation group of its kind. With 70,000 members in Texas, CCA's mission is dedicated to conserve, promote, and enhance the present and future availability of our coastal resources for the benefit and enjoyment of the general public. So if you care about the health of our Texas coastal resources, join CCA today by going to their website, ccatexas.org, and help them make a difference. Use the promo code REDFISH to receive your free hat with your membership. CCA, the leader in marine conservation.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and as you could tell, Dave's not here, and we've replaced him just for the week with Sarah Malia. And Sarah, you know, you're an offshore expert, but I thought it would really be cool this week to talk about fishing top waters. So we're going to start off with, you know, if you're a bass guy, a lot of times bass fishermen love to fly fish using poppers. So we have little panfish poppers here, as you can tell.
So cute.
You see those little legs? Well, those legs, as you pop this, Sarah, they're little rubber bands and they wiggle in the water, which is really neat. And then this particular popper is called the Ruoff Backcountry Chugger. Now, what's so cool about this is in both cases, both of these poppers have a concave type of nose. This is what we really want to focus in on tonight because it's simple. When you pop them, you're going to keep the rod tip down on the fly, and we're going to just make sure that we give it a quick, hard jerk, and then it gives us this chugging. Now, moving on into another category, then we have lures that we use for bass that simulate a shad, but it also has a propeller on the back. So it's not a chugging type of pop, but it's more of a gurgling sound. And you would pop this along the surface and it would give a little sound of gurgling, and then you would pause for a second, and that's when the bass like to hit it. This is called the skitter prop because of the propeller. This is also a great lure for trout. Now, one of my favorite lures, which has a concave head and a real slender pencil type of design, is the chug bug. You know, and the chug bug has this concave head and it makes a different type of tone. So a lot of times our chugging, which you're going to talk about offshore here in a second, depends on the depth and how deep it is. Now sometimes, like in this X-Wrap pop, you can tell this whole face is really big and concave. A different type of water comes off of it, but it also has a tendency, and it also has a tendency to pop and go down. But you know, one thing you need to understand, Sarah, is sometimes fish don't like it loud. You know, so you might downsize, like in this little skitter walk. Now the skitter walk comes in two sizes, many colors, but listen, you hear that ball bearing that's in there? That's what makes the skitter walk the #1 walk the dog style of lure. Now, as I said, we sometimes run into problems because they don't want the noise, but they still want that little V-wake on the surface.
For the shy guys.
Yeah, and this is when you pull out the soft plastic. So you can have gurgling sounds like you get from this Bass Assassin frog, or you can have a gurgling sound that you would get from the paddle tail of this die dapper. In either case, you're gonna rig it weedless with no weight, like this little boss, and you're just simply gonna throw it out and kind of swim it back. Now I know that you spend a lot of time offshore, and that's where your expertise is. So let's talk a little bit about the offshore type of chuggers and presentations.
Well, Ling love chugging lures like the skitter pop or the storm chug bug that we have here. You just throw it past them or behind them, and you pop it and lock it hard with the rod tip down, and the bubble trail attracts their attention.
Right.
So also like tuna on the rigs and big redfish, they love the poppers, and they come in a variety of shapes, colors, and sizes. So depending on the species or the watercolor, for example, for tuna, I would recommend, like tuna offshore, I'd recommend blues and purples. But you just make sure you use the heavy duty snap rings and hooks like this Williamson Popper Pro for the larger fish.
Yeah, because listen, you go and hook a big yellowfin tuna around a rig with this, you're gonna really wanna put the pressure on them. you know?
Exactly.
Now, I'd say that one of the things that all of these poppers or topwaters have is, in order to get the maximum amount of action out of these lures, I suggest you tie it on with a loop knot. Exactly. A uni knot, a Palomar knot. There's a million different types of knots. You can Google loop knots of some sort. And then there's little videos that'll teach you those knots. But hey, Matt, you did a good job over here. Not bad.
Thank you.
Bree?
Oh,
We're done
cute,
popping
guys.
over here,
That
man.
was cute, guys. Very cute. We're headed just up the coast a bit to the Upper Coast region, where Captain Caleb Harp has got you covered, whether you'll be inshore or offshore this weekend. Tell them what's out there, Caleb.
Hey, we got it going on now. The weather finally laid down, so it's looking better. But, you know, with these north winds we've had this weekend and into early this week, the north shoreline of West Galveston Bay has been a player. You know, obviously being a protected shoreline from the wind, it's been a good option, but the whole shoreline can be really good this time of year anyways. Most of that north shoreline is loaded with grass, potholes, and moguls, which make for some really great trout habitat. But, you know, that grass will help filter the water, keep it in good shape, even after a couple of southerly blows that, you know, we're always going to get after that north wind finally does die down. You know, wade fishing around this grass and throwing into sand pockets is a great way to catch trout this time of year. That trout bite in the grass, you know, is going to be pretty good. And they're going to hide in that grass and use those sand pockets as ambush points to attack the bait in. And, you know, if there's a bunch of visible bait on top, try using a topwater. You know, mirror lure sheet dog is going to produce more bites and choppier conditions with the high pitch rattle. But on calmer days, like Rick was just talking about, you need to have a more subtle rattle. And, you know, we're getting a lot of those bites on calmer days on a Top Dog Junior. It allows you to do that. Rigging soft plastics on a very small 16th-ounce jig head, or even weedless on a bass hook to keep from getting hung in the grass and produce some good catches as well. And a lot of these trout are going to be up there spawning on those flats right now. So there's also an opportunity to catch a trophy caliber fish there too. And don't be surprised if you find a good school of redfish swimming through. That north shoreline is notorious for redfish as well. And then I got a picture there, a little action shot of you know, what to expect when wading right now in West Bay. That's a friend of mine, Tyler Beasley, landing a trout.
Hey, great picture, you know, Caleb. I like it. I like it. Daddy like it. All right, let's how about a redfish? You got a redfish report for us?
Yes, sir. And, you know, speaking of redfish, a more concentrated area that's going to hold reds generally year-round is the whole ship channel region of the Upper Galveston Bay complex. From Morgan's Point to the San Jacinto River, there's miles and miles of rock walls that line the Houston Ship Channel and other various channels, barge canals, docking stations, and revetments. With the deep water access of that ship channel, which is about 50 foot deep, these fish really never leave. Even after hard floods, the fish will just tuck down deep into that channel and ride it out. And whenever the water does get good, you know, they're just going to hop out of the channel onto the ledges of the spoils, you know, to chase bait. Redfish love to run up and down these rocks looking for bait. The best way to fish the rocks is to fish parallel to the rocks, kind of like, you know, we do at the jetties. Soft plastic tattletales, such as mirror lure marsh minnow, work really good. And I like to rig them on an 1/8-ounce jig head. You know, this is going to allow you to break through some of that current, but not too heavy to where you're getting hung up on protruding rocks. And spinner baits and spoons work really good too. But don't be afraid to try a square bill crankbait or even a wake bait. These reds will eat just about anything you throw at them, but, you know, you just got to present it in front of their face, find where they want to be. And there's a picture there of Thomas Francis with a big red from the Upper Galveston Bay area. So there's some big ones up there too.
All right, take me offshore, bub.
Let's do it, man. Well, you know, we finally got a good break in the weather this week to run offshore and got some good reports from our friends over there at Salty Dolphin Charters out of Freeport. You know, light north winds allowed everybody to finally get out and get on some good fish. You know, mangrove snapper are a great species to target that not many people really go after. You know, as far as table fare goes, these mangrove snapper are right up there with red snapper. But we can actually keep mangrove year-round. Mangrove live inshore and offshore. The juveniles are going to be inshore around the jetties and deep channels and rocks. We catch a lot of them around the Galveston Channel and stuff in the summertime. But those adult mangrove will move out deep towards further offshore structures. Around here, we tend to catch mangrove in even up to 200 foot of water. The mangrove are a little tough to find sometimes, but they'll be mixed in with the red snapper around structures. A little trick to catching mangrove is to chum up the target area, and this is going to bring the snapper up to the surface. You know, the red snapper are a far more aggressive feeder, and they're going to come up first, but you can essentially sight cast the mangrove amongst the red snapper. And if the red snapper really thick, you can throw a couple pieces of chum off to the side to distract the red snapper and have an opportunity to catch, you know, more mangroves. The mangrove snapper's eyesight is really good, so you're going to want to use a 3/0 circle hook with a about 30-pound fluorocarbon leader and live shad. For their size, these mangrove snappers are a blast to catch and can result in a fun day of sight casting. You know, if you get into a bigger school of mangrove, you can still catch them on, you know, like a standard snapper rig on the bottom. But generally offshore, those mangrove are going to be 4 to 7 pounds.
Tell me about the photo. Don't you have a photo here?
Yeah, there's a pic there of Slade with a really nice mangrove snapper fishing with salty dolphin charters.
All right, quickly on the amberjack, please.
That's it. You know, our next offshore species is the amberjack, but, you know, fortunately, we're going to have a longer season this year. Our upcoming season for amberjack will be starting May 1st, and we'll go through the end of the month. Last year, we were allowed a really short season in the winter, and the weather was really bad, so not a lot of people got out there. Luckily, you know, during May, we'll have a lot better weather, and we'll be able to actually get out there this time. So if you're looking for a fish that will test your skills and equipment, look no further than the amberjack. These fish are going to be in a 100-pound range and are known for their pure strength. And typically, amberjack are found on structure in deeper water. But next week, we're going to go into more detail on techniques on those amberjacks, so we'll get them when we can actually get out there.
Tell me about the amberjack photo there, bub.
Yeah, that's about a 70-pounder there from Salty Dolphin. There's a guy named Troy holding that stud. So there's some good ones out there when we can finally go get them next week.
All right, keep great reports coming. I'm really impressed. Thank you so much for your hard work. Caleb, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the CCA Upper Coast region hotspots. Caleb says inshore trout in the grass on the north shoreline of West Galveston Bay. Wade fishing with soft plastics rig on a light jig head or weedless is good. Top waters will work great when there's a lot of bait around. And then offshore mangrove snappers on the surface structure and rock piles in 60 to 100 foot range, chumming with shad and using live shad on a 3/0 circle hook with 30-pound fluoro is a great tactic.
Salty Dog's got it going on.
Yeah, man.
He had 2 stud fish there.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does. All right, coming up next, we're headed inland to the middle and upper fresh regions right here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. But we also want to remind you to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and view and tag us on Instagram for all things fishing in Texas. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. And Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there.
Master your most challenging offshore experience with confidence and ease with Yamaha Helmmaster. Precise, intuitive control on the open seas. Unrivaled ease for maneuvering and docking in port. And now SetPoint adds 3 new dimensions to boat control. Maintain boat position with fish point, or a position and heading with stay point, or a heading while you drift with drift point. Yamaha Helmmaster, now with SetPoint. Complete digital control for today's larger offshore boats.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Remember to follow our guides and be up to date on all things fishing in Texas. Make sure to head over to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com. You can catch all of our shows on our YouTube channel as well. Remember to like us on Facebook at Texas Insider Fishing Report and follow us on Instagram at TipperTV. Also, don't forget to send and tag us in your fish-tastic photos and videos.
Please, don't forget.
Gotta use our manners.
That's right.
All right, let's see what our StarTron Middle Fresh Region guide, Matt Loescher, has on the line for us, specifically from Richland Chambers and Sam Rayburn. Let's hear it, Matt.
Hey, guys. I'm going to start over at Richland Chambers this week. Talking about some hybrid stripers. Man, I talked to Bob Holmes the other day, and he tells me that he's just absolutely hammering the hybrid stripers over there. They're catching these things, big numbers, mostly early in the morning, but, you might catch a few all day. They're chasing birds for them. Just walk right around looking for the birds. The shad are up spawning, so most of them are going to be closer to the bank. Shallow point or places where a creek channel swings up against the bank. And, just look for those birds. The shad are going to be underneath them, and the fish are going to be below the shad. So, just like I said, everything really revolves around the shad and the birds for them. And they're using sassy shad bait, chartreuse, or banana color, he told me. That's a new one to me. But I guess it's a bright color deal, and maybe some off-colored water. Those bright colors stand out really well. You want to use the wind to your advantage to do this. So look for the points and the banks that have the wind blowing on them. That'll keep those fish active. And especially once you get later up in the day, after the sun rises above the trees and you got some sunlight on the water, the wind really breaks up that light penetration, and it helps keep those fish active a little later in the day. And then talking about some blue catfish, basically the same deal. On Richland Chambers as well, same kind of thing. You're looking for the shad that are under the birds. But the major difference here, those white bass and the hybrid stripers, they're going to be in about, 2 to maybe 7 feet of water. But these blue catfish, they're staying a little bit shallower, only 2 to 3 feet of water. And they're catching these things on what's called a Santee Cooper rig. It's a neat deal. It's kind of like a Carolina rig, except it's got a little float on it near the hook. So it really holds that shad up well. They're using fresh caught shad to catch these catfish. Like I said, 2 to 3 foot of water. And just same kind of deal. Look for your creek channel, swinging bank, and your shallow point. Wind is always your friend in this deal. So just look for that. Those 3 deals, the wind, the birds, and the shad, and you should find the fish.
All right, what else you got for me, Bubba?
All right, I'm gonna jump over to Sam Rayburn, heading east a little bit. And Sam Rayburn, it's always known for its big bass, especially this time of year. And you got kind of a lot of things going on right now. You've got the bass. Some are still spawning. Some just got done spawning. And also, just like Richland Chambers, the shad are coming into spawn on Sam Rayburn. And when that shad spawn bite is on, basically what's happening is the bass are coming off the spawn, the shad are coming into spawn, and they just kind of headbutt in the middle. And the bass just absolutely gorge on these things and just they massacre them. And so what you want to look for is you want to focus around grassy points in about 3 to 12 feet of water. What these shad do is they come in on these points and they lay their eggs on the grass. And then, like I said, the bass are coming out from spawning, so they're getting out on these points, using them as transition areas back to the deeper water. You want to focus on the areas that are really close to the spawning flat. So when the bass get done spawning, those first few points that they come to, they're going to use those to transition back out to the deeper water. And then the shad are using those to transition in and spawn on that grass. So they all kind of, like I said, they all kind of just meet in the middle, and everything goes crazy for about a month here. And the best way to catch them, especially early in the morning, you want to use a spinner bait. I like a Stanley spinner bait with double nickel blades. You can run that thing over the top of the grass or parallel the grass. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. You really can't do it wrong. You just want to look for any kind of activity you see on the surface, and especially if you see some shad jumping out of the water like they're being chased by bass, look for that and throw that spinnerbait right in that area, and you should catch some bass on a spinnerbait. Maybe a swim jig works really good too. Stick with your traditional shad colors. The clearer the water, the clearer you want your bait to be, basically, is how I look at it. Kind of a transparent white color is really good. and with the spinnerbait and the swim jig, and just look for that grass in the 3 to 12 foot range, and that works really good too.
Tell me about the photo.
All right, so they had the Sealy Big Bass Splash tournament on Sam Rayburn this past weekend.
Wow.
And they had some giant bass weighed in. I mean, it was incredible. Sam Rayburn is really putting them out right now. I think it took over a 7-pounder every hour to win the hourly prize. But in that photo there, the gentleman weighed a 12.05 pound bass in to take the top honors for the weekend, and he won the overall event.
Well,
an absolute giant bass.
Matt, thank you for tracking down that photo. That's an awesome fish. Congratulations to him. And also, thank you so much for a great job this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the middle fresh hot spots. He said Richard Chambers for hybrid stripers and blue catfish. Look for the birds working around the points and wind-blown shorelines. Use shad for the catfish. Sam Rayburn is producing a ton of big largemouth bass right now. Look for the points. Look for them at the points near the spawning flats where the fish will be fattening up on the shads after they spawn, Brie. Everybody's hungry after they get done having a baby, you know what I'm saying?
Wow. Yeah.
Or maybe before they have a baby.
Okay. Johnny Geist in the Upper Fresh region is talking about Lake Monticello and Fork this weekend. So let's hear what he has to say. Go, Johnny, go, while I kick his booty.
Hey, Bree and Rick, how y'all this morning? I'm going to go cover largemouth bass on both lakes. It's just that time of the year. Lake Monticello is about 45 miles away from here. It's a coal power plant lake. It's a hot water discharge lake, but they had to shut the plant down in January, so now it's just got cold water, regular water like all the surrounding lakes. So no power generation going on, no current in the lake. Bass are having to acclimate to the new water levels. Water's dropped over 2 foot low, and the temperature of the water is 65 to 70 degrees. Monticello's always had a tremendous population of bass, and it's not getting much fishing pressure at all right now, so the bass are hungry, and they're spawning in the shallows, and if you fish the lily pad areas, you're catching a lot of fish. Best lures are weightless flukes and Cincos. Green pumpkin, watermelon red worked for us best the other day. You can throw a wacky rig trick worm that's also producing. Lily pad fields, you better have some braid on because it's hard to get them out of there. Monticello also has a lot of decayed vegetation, and you have to really keep your hook clean. That's real important. If there's anything on your hook, you won't get a bite. So be sure you keep your hook good and clean after every cast. I like to use a light drop shot, or for sure weightless is the best way to make the presentation. No visible cover or vegetation on the lake south of the highway bridge, but it's still got a lot of bass down there holding next to schools of big shad as they roam the structure. If you're motoring, you got to be a lot easier now because all the stumps are exposed. They used to be right under the water, so it's actually easier, but you still better be careful because they're almost petrified. They've been underwater so long. Late afternoon topwater frog fishing started, and buzz baits catch a lot of bass late in the afternoons as it warms up. Also, Monticello's got excellent catfishing and crappie going on, spawning there as well. I got a picture of one I caught on Monticello on a swim bait. Pretty good little bass.
Oh, man, that's a nice fish there, Johnny. All right, I know you got some more bass for us. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had to cover this one. We have to cover Fork every week. It's just on fire. The cooler than normal April has delayed or maybe just extended the spawn. It just seems like it trickles on and on. Still plenty of pre-spawners being caught on the lower end of the lake, so I still know there's a lot of good fish to come up and spawn. Our Upper Creek areas, they're producing good frog fishing right now. Up in Glade Creek, Birch Creek, and an area called Oilwell Bay, they all have milfoil flats. There's a lot of good spots to fish the hollow body frogs and buzzbaits. Some bass are garden frying these areas, and they're pretty aggressive. On the windy days, the bite's best for the big swim baits. We'll talk about that in a minute. The chatterbaits, the square bills, the Carolina plastics, you have to throw some contact type bait when the wind blows, and we have been getting a lot of 20-mile-an-hour wind days. Next full moon should trigger the last and the largest wave of spawners. Looking forward to that. This, along with the shad spawn, will be happening at the same time. Should produce some outstanding bass fishing here for us in May. April's been a real tough month on Fork, one of the coldest I can remember. We just need some warmer weather. It's over 80 degrees late this week, so I think we're going to have some stable weather, and they'll start biting good. We got a local lure manufacturer in the area named Heath Taylor over in Pittsburgh, Texas. He's produced an excellent line of soft swim baits called Smash Tech Lures. Look them up. They've got some great baits. Last year, my favorite swim bait had been the bass streak. The last few years, I've been catching a lot on the bass streak, but the new Smash Tech hollow body, it's working real good right now for me. It's a lot more durable, and you can catch a lot more fish on each bait. When you use one of these hollow body swim baits, be sure to use an 8/0 on or beast hook for the best results. Either 5.5 or 6 inch hollow body works good. And now I'm not the only one catching them on it. I got Your Lake Fork guide, Billy Lawson. He does a lot of videos, and is a good guide on Lake Fork. He supplied a picture of a big one he caught on a Smash Tech hollow body just this week. I think we got a picture of that.
Yeah, got it. Great. That's a great shot of that swim bait.
About the time I was wrapping up my report and getting information, Billy called and said, hey, you need to see this video, and he allowed us to share it with the viewers today. We got a video showing here of a young angler, he's 13 years old, fishing with his dad. Billy Lawson's the guide. They're throwing that same hollow body we just talked about, and the young man catches a 12.2-pound bass.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
Look at that face.
Wow, Johnny.
And to watch that young kid take that bass and manage to get him in the boat like he did, and then catch and release. They measured, they weighed the fish, they took the videos. Dad gave him a big hug, and then they dropped that fish back over to spawn some more, and she's out there swimming around there in Lake Fork again.
Johnny, thank you so much for getting us that video. Love it. And guys, if we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the upper fresh region. Johnny says Lake Monticello black bass are good on watermelon, red flukes, and cincos. Crappies and catfish are fair on the minnows, and then Lake Fork bass are being caught in 1 to 5 feet of water. The swim bait bite continues to produce trophy-sized bass. Windy Main Lake points are producing the best results. Crappie and catfish are good in shallow water, right, Brie?
That's correct. All right, something I know we all look forward to every year is the CCA Texas Star Tournament, and it's just around the corner. To date, Star has awarded nearly $6.2 million in scholarships and is giving away another $325,000 this year. But this tournament isn't just for the kids. If you fish May 26th through September 3rd, you could have the chance to win one of 19 boats, 5 trucks, or 3 ATVs. Get registered now online at Academy or any way station. How about that?
That's awesome, Brie.
CCA is always doing great things.
Yeah, man.
All right, we've got one more region to cover when we return on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, and along with your Middle Coast region, we'll be taking a gander at what new products Sarah has for y'all at the CCA Workbench. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back on the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. Yeti, built for the wild. Building Conservation Trust, CCA's National Habitat Program. StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
When you've got an incredible opportunity in front of you, you want a Yamaha VMAX SHO behind you. Just ask 2017 Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year, Brandon Polinick. He'll tell you, if you're an aspiring angler with big dreams and a VMAX SHO, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Light, fast, fuel-efficient V6 performance and Yamaha reliability that lets you focus on your game. Nothing pushes you like a Yamaha VMAX SHO.
And that's all we need. We need next quarter so that we can postpone it to everything.
Yeah? Stop working right now! Look outside. Is this spreadsheet weather? No, it's not. This is fishing weather. So stop clicking, get out there, and catch a bass. Stop what you're doing and start fishing Rapala Ripstop.
Thanks for tuning in to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes as well as special segments right on our homepage. Just head to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up.
Robert Shamel with JL Marine and your Power Pole tip. Today we're going to talk about the new Power Pole pump. It's been completely redesigned to be even more compact with increased performance. It also comes with the connectors pre-installed so that adding our new heavy-duty hydraulic hose is simple and easy. Another thing that we've added is very large buttons, so when they're inside your boat, you can quickly connect to your remote control and it makes programming a snap. Also, it still connects to our Sea Monster app, so you can customize all of your settings like speed, sensitivity, or pole selection. They also communicate with the controllers 100 times faster than ever before. Now our next tip is going to be all about those remote controls and how to use them and what they offer. And that's today's Power Pole tip.
The CCA Workbench is certainly where we talk about new products. Sarah, you're filling in for Dave, and you know what? You have a very beautiful Blue Yeti bag over there, so why don't you tell me about that bag?
Well, we have so many exciting products for you guys. This Yeti Camino carry-all bag is great. It's waterproof, easy to clean, and it's perfect for the outdoorsman. You can take it anywhere. It has this nice handle, so you can just throw it over your shoulder and go. You can take it to the beach, throw your towel in there. You don't have to worry about it getting dirty because it's so easy to clean. I like to take it on the boat with me because it's waterproof and durable, so I can throw my Grundens in there, my boots, and not worry about them getting wet. Or
you can also throw your Yeti tumbler in there. You know?
Exactly.
Exactly.
If I want to get crazy, I'll throw my Yeti tumbler and make a cocktail. So yeah, this bag is great.
What colors?
It comes in sky blue, storm gray, and Everglades green.
Everglades sand.
Sand.
Good job.
There's a plot twist.
Yeah, man, there's always a twist. But you know what, speaking of a twist, sometimes, Sarah, you know, you gotta anchor up your boat, and Power Pole has come out with 3 new spikes.
Very exciting.
Now, this is what I love about this is they've come out with 3 spikes. The first spike is the ultra light. All right, so that spike, the difference with it is its weight. It's hollow inside. It comes in a 6.5 as well as an 8.5 foot spike. We have this great handle so that it makes you deploying it real easy, pushing it down into the sand. Also, it makes it great for pulling it out of the sand. So many times, if you're using a push pole, it's hard to get it out. You know, this makes it perfect. Now, the ultra light spike is also designed for lightweight boats, 1,500 pounds or less, canoes, kayaks, john boats, paddle boards. But the heavy duty spike like this one, 8.5 foot long, I can use it to
for larger vessels.
Yeah, bay boat. I can use it for the contender, staking out at the sandbar. We don't want ropes hanging all over the place.
Creeping at the sandbar.
Yeah, man, but then I don't have a lot of rope hanging overboard, you know. Now, Sarah, I know you love to throw the cast net. This is a nice new net from Calusa.
The Calusa cast net is one of my favorite products. I like to keep 2 of them on the boat, a 10 and a 12 foot for when we go bait fishing. It's great because it's the perfect weight. It's 1.5 pounds per foot. So it's not too light that it takes forever to sink and the bait get away, but it's not too heavy that you're absolutely exhausted after throwing it a couple times. And we all know cast nets can get very heavy, even when you have guns like these. I mean, I don't know if you can relate, Rick, but it gets exhausting.
I mean, my fill-in's even dropping the bomb on me.
And they're great because they're made out of high-quality copolymer mono, which makes them very soft and easy to throw. So they're also reinforced.
Yeah, let me see that. So the blue is reinforced. It's reinforced at the collar?
At the top and the bottom, 2 inches. So it makes it very strong and very durable. It also has a 120-pound braille line.
Right.
So it's very strong, and it's a great investment because this will last for a long time.
Well, you did really well over here, new products. I like it. We might have to have you back to help Dave, right, Brie?
Absolutely. I can't wait to get my hands on one of those cast nets myself. All right, Bink Grimes from the Middle Coast region is now on the line, and he's going to tell you what to expect for your weekend fishing plans. Ain't that right, Bink?
That's right. The weather looks wonderful this weekend. We've got light north winds and just beautiful temperatures. It feels like April some days, and here lately it's felt like February, but our weather's turned around, and everybody likes this consistency in their lives, especially we anglers. We like to plan before we hit the dock, but right now you better have a few other plans in your back pocket if you're going to catch fish. It's been a grind at times, but any day we get a break in the wind like this week, we've been catching some really healthy trout in East Matagorda Bay. It's mostly been on the east end since most of the winds have been from an easterly direction, allowing the water to be kind of fishably clear. Live shrimp under a mid-coast popping cork has been best. We're making long drifts and covering lots of ground and concentrating on consistent locales when the major and minor bite goes off. Captain Michael Quebecer caught and released multiple trout in the 5 to 7 pound range with corks rigged about 3 foot deep. He said tides have been low for this time of the year, and the shrimp is suspending about a foot off the bottom of the mud and shell. And the trout are beginning to slick on the shorelines in the morning in West Matagorda Bay. When I say slicking, it's a term we use, and fish are feeding, and the oil from the bait fish that they're eating puts the sheen on the water. It kind of gives their location away. It kind of tells us, man, we got feeding fish in the area. And then the first sign of waders tossing live croakers for limits to trout was reported by Captain Caleb Rush of Run and Gun Adventures this week. He's been working sand and grass humps on the incoming tide for trout to 4 pounds. Love it or hate it, live croakers are deadly on late spring and summer trout. It's become a big business for bait camps for the past 20 years here in Texas, and it kind of puts odds in the favor of anglers to bend rods. The croaker season really kicks off from May to September, so it's getting going now. Port O'Connor anglers have hid from the wind in the maze of marshes along the south shoreline of Eastford, Santo Bay, and San Antonio Bay. Some are wading the back lakes with small topwaters and soft plastic swim baits like bass, sass, and sea shad, down south lures, and gamblers flapping shad. And others are taking a bait bucket full of shrimp and tossing corks up against the shell points to get their fish. And then in Rockport, that incoming tide has been good for waders at Mud Island, Allen Fight, and Super Flat. Some are throwing small super spooks. Most are tossing corkies and saltines and down south lures, bass and sasses, Norton bull minnows. And the croaker bite should get fired up in Rockport in May. There's a photo there of a nice 6-pounder caught in stiff north 20-knot winds by Captain Michael Quebecer's boat there in East Matagorda Bay. Then we're going to go to redfish. Matagorda, most boaters are hitting the points and structures along the south shoreline with live shrimp. They stop for 5 minutes and they just kind of move on if they don't get a bite. You get one here, one there. It's just been moving around. Others are camping on the mud flats and waiting for the reds to come to them. They're tossing a chunk of fresh mullet, set the rod in the rack, and wait for a thump. It takes a little patience, but at the end of the day, you have a box of reds. Our tides have been coming in the morning time, so early it's been low, but by mid-morning the tides have come in. Bull reds are all over the beaches and jetties. Guys are on foot have tossed big chunks of crab and mullet in the first gut on the high tide, on the beach side, while jetty anglers have worked the ocean side on the incoming and the channel side on the outgoing. There's also lots of reds on the edge of the ICW from Sargent to Matagorda. Live shrimp's been the ticket there for anglers working a trolling motor along the drop-off. Don't be afraid to work off-color water. Those reds are sight and scent feeders, and the old pros have kind of peeled. They started peeling some of the shell off the shrimp to get more scent in the water when the water's off-color. Guide Red Price said the flats in Rockport continue to hold lots of reds. If you like to toss lures, throw those gulps in the potholes. If you like to chunk bait, do the same with live shrimp. If you like to relax and kick back in the boat, anchor down, toss cut mullet on the bottom, and wait for the rod to bend. And there's a photo of Joe Cochran, the limited reds he caught while wading with Captain Ray Sexton. And then the offshore, or triple tail, Matagorda, Michael Quebecer said that there should be more cobia and triple tail showing up beneath large rafts of seaweed. Rough conditions have kept many off the pond, but this week it's changed. We got seas of 1 to 2 foot for the next 3 or 4 days. And both those triple tail and ling are curious fish. They come to the surface to check out the commotion. And both are excellent table fare, can be sight casted with natural baits like shrimp or finger mullet. He likes Quebecer likes to have rods rigged and ready to when he approaches the grass line. And You know, right now we're about 3 weeks behind because of the cold front. This time last year we were about 3 weeks ahead. So, but this next warm up should be good. Should change a lot of things for us in Texas.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. Great report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Middle Coast hotspots. He says in Rockport, the trout are good along St. Joe's Island on small topwaters and plastics on the incoming tide. Port O'Connor redfish are steady at the jetty on shrimp and crabs. And then waders have found good schools of reds in the back lakes on Gulp. Steady at the jetty.
At the jetty. There you have it.
That's
I'm
got
liking
the
this
steady right
ratio.
here.
I mean,
Work,
I'm liking this. Girls are taking over, Rick.
They are.
They
Man,
are.
anytime y'all want, Captain, you want to take my spot, and then we can get somebody to take Dave's spot, and it'll be girls' rule.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Sarah, you did awesome. Thanks
Thank
for filling
you.
in for Dave. I'm going to miss you. It was great spending time with you guys. And we hope you guys catch lots of fish this weekend. Enjoy the weather. We'll be seeing you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.